The Korean billionaire CEO with his mistress ignored his wife's call. He never knew it was her final. "Don't answer that," Soare whispered, her voice like honey as she leaned close to Taehyung's ear. She ran her fingers through his dark, perfectly styled hair. They were sitting in the VIP section of the most expensive club in Gangnam, surrounded by gold bottles of champagne and the heavy bass of the music that shook the floor. Taehyung looked down at his phone, buzzing on the glass table. The screen lit up with a photo. It was a picture of a beautiful Nigerian woman with dark, glowing skin and a bright smile. The name on the screen said Nia, wife. It was the 5th time she had called in 10 minutes. Taehyung sighed, a sound of pure annoyance. He was the CEO of Hansung Electronics, the biggest tech company in South Korea. He had just closed a deal worth $500 million. He was a king in this city. But right now, his phone was reminding him of the one thing he wanted to forget, his secret life. "She is persistent, isn't she?" Soare said, laughing softly. She was Taehyung's executive assistant, and the woman everyone thought he should be with. She was Korean, stylish, and fit perfectly into his world of luxury. "Does she know you are celebrating the biggest night of your life?" "She doesn't care about my business," Taehyung said coldly. He picked up the phone. His thumb hovered over the green button for a second, but then he pressed the red button. Decline. He didn't just decline the call. He powered the phone off completely. The screen went black. "Finally," Soare smiled, handing him a glass of champagne. "Now you can focus on me." Taehyung took the drink, but for a split second, he felt a strange pinch in his chest. A bad feeling. Nia never called 5 times in a row. She knew the rules. She was the shadow wife, the woman he kept hidden in his penthouse because he was afraid of what his investors would think if they knew he married an African woman he met when he was a poor student. "To the future," Taehyung said, raising his glass, pushing the bad feeling away. He didn't know that at that exact moment, on the other side of the city, his phone was the only lifeline Nia had left. He didn't know that while he was drinking champagne, Nia was lying on the cold floor of their bathroom, clutching her stomach, with no one to help her but the voicemail of the man who promised to protect her. Before we find out what happens next, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. I really want to know, where are you watching this story from? Drop your country in the comments below. Now, let's see how this tragedy began. 3 days before that phone call, everything seemed normal, or as normal as life could be for Nia. Nia stood in the kitchen of the massive penthouse apartment in Seoul. It was a beautiful home, with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the Han River. It looked like a palace, but to Nia, it felt like a cage. She was cooking egusi soup, a dish from back home in Nigeria. The smell of melon seeds and crayfish filled the modern, sterile kitchen. It was the only comfort she had left. She hummed a song her mother used to sing to her, trying to ignore the pain in her lower back. She was 7 months pregnant. Her belly was large and round, carrying the heir to the Hansung Empire, though Taehyung acted like the baby didn't exist. The front door beeped. Beep, 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 click. Nia's heart jumped. Taehyung was home early. Usually, he didn't come home until past midnight. She wiped her hands on her apron and waddled toward the hallway, a smile on her face. Even after everything, she still loved him. She remembered the Taehyung who used to eat instant noodles with her in a tiny one-room apartment, the Taehyung who told her her skin was more beautiful than any pearl. "Welcome home, honey," Nia called out. Taehyung walked in, looking sharp in his gray designer suit. But as soon as he stepped inside, his nose wrinkled. He stopped, a look of disgust washing over his handsome face. "What is that smell?" he asked, his voice sharp. Nia's smile faltered. "Oh, I made egusi soup. I was craving it, and I thought maybe you would try some. Remember, you used to like the spicy pepper soup I made when—" "I am not a poor student anymore, Nia," Taehyung cut her off. He walked past her without even looking at her face. He walked straight to the kitchen, opened the windows, and turned on the heavy-duty exhaust fan. "This smell, it sticks to my suits. I have a meeting with the Minister of Trade tomorrow. Do you want me to smell like that?" Nia felt tears prick her eyes. "It's just food, Taehyung. It's my culture." "It's noise," he muttered, pouring himself a glass of water. "Just like everything else lately. Noise and smell." He finally looked at her. He didn't look at her eyes, he looked at her stomach. There was no love in his gaze, only worry. "Did you go to the doctor today? Did you take the back exit like I told you?" Nia nodded, her hand resting protectively on her bump. "Yes. I wore the hat and the mask. No one saw me." "Good," he said, turning his back to her. The stock price is fragile right now. If the media finds out I have a foreign wife who is pregnant, the rumors will destroy the merger. I am not a rumor, Taehyung. I am your wife, Nia whispered, her voice shaking. And this is your son. Taehyung slammed his glass down on the counter. The sound echoed through the silent apartment. Nia flinched. You are my wife because I was foolish and young, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I gave you this apartment. I gave you credit cards. I send money to your family in Lagos every month. Is that not enough? Why do you have to be so visible? He walked out of the kitchen, heading toward his study. I have work. Do not disturb me. And get rid of that soup. Nia stood alone in the kitchen. The fan whirred above her, sucking away the smell of her home, just like Taehyung was sucking away her happiness. She turned off the stove. She didn't have the appetite to eat anymore. Later that night, the pain in her back got worse. It wasn't just a backache. It was a sharp, stabbing pain that wrapped around her ribs. Nia lay in the guest bedroom. Taehyung hadn't slept in the master bedroom with her for 3 months. She grabbed her phone and searched for the symptoms online. High blood pressure, blurred vision, sharp pain. The results said preeclampsia. It was dangerous. She wanted to go to Taehyung's room and wake him up. She stood outside his door, her hand raised to knock. But she heard his voice inside. He was on the phone. Yes, so he was saying, his voice soft and relaxed, a tone he hadn't used with Nia in years. The design is perfect. You are a genius. We will celebrate after the launch. Just you and me. Nia lowered her hand. He was talking to her. So the woman who walked beside him at every event, the woman the cameras loved. Nia went back to her room, crying silently into her pillow so she wouldn't disturb the man who was planning a celebration with another woman. The next day, Nia decided she couldn't just stay hidden anymore. The pain came and went, but she felt dizzy. She needed to see her husband. She needed him to look at her and see Nia, not a problem to be hidden. She dressed in her best clothes, a loose, elegant dress that covered her pregnancy but looked professional. She took a taxi to the Hansung headquarters in the center of Seoul. It was a glass skyscraper that touched the clouds. When she walked into the lobby, people stared. In this part of Seoul, everyone looked the same, expensive suits, pale skin, rushing to work. A pregnant black woman stood out. Nia kept her head high. She walked to the front desk. I am here to see CEO Kim Taehyung, she told the receptionist in fluent Korean. The receptionist looked Nia up and down with a sneer. Do you have an appointment? No, but I am his family, Nia said. She couldn't say wife. Taehyung had forbidden it. Family? The receptionist laughed, a cruel, short sound. CEO Kim has no family in Korea. His parents are in Busan. Please leave, or I will call security. Please just call him. Tell him Nia is here. It is urgent, Nia pleaded. She felt the room spinning slightly. Just then the elevator doors dinged open. Taehyung walked out, surrounded by a group of executives. Soare was right next to him, holding a tablet and laughing at something he said. Nia's face lit up. Taehyung, she called out, stepping forward. The lobby went silent. The executives turned to look. Taehyung froze mid-step. He saw Nia. For a second, his eyes widened in shock, and then terror. He looked at the investors, then at Nia. He made a choice. He turned to his head of security. Remove that woman, he said loudly, so everyone could hear. We cannot have fans harassing us in the lobby. Nia felt like she had been slapped. Fan. Taehyung, it's me. I'm sick. I need. 2 large security guards grabbed her arms. Taehyung, she screamed as they dragged her toward the revolving doors. Please. Something is wrong with the baby. Taehyung didn't turn around. He walked faster toward his private car, Soare guiding him away, shielding him from the embarrassment. Nia was thrown out onto the sidewalk. She stumbled, skinning her knees on the concrete. Passers-by looked at her with pity or judgment, but no one stopped. She sat on the cold pavement, clutching her belly, sobbing. That was the moment her heart truly broke. She realized she wasn't just hidden. She was erased. That brings us back to the night of the club. The night of the final call. Nia was back in the penthouse. She hadn't seen Taehyung since the incident in the lobby 2 days ago. He hadn't come home. He stayed at a hotel, texting her only once. You humiliated me. Do not leave the apartment until I say so. But tonight, the pain was different. It wasn't a throb, it was an explosion. Nia was in the bathroom, gripping the sink. Her vision was blurry. She looked in the mirror and saw her nose was bleeding. She collapsed onto the tiles. She couldn't get up. Her phone was on the bath mat, just a few inches away. She dialed Taehyung. Ring. Ring. Please, Taehyung, she gasped, her breath coming in short, ragged bursts. Pick up. I'm scared. The call disconnected. She dialed again. And again. She knew he was at the club. She had seen the notifications on his social media, the company launch party. He was celebrating while she was dying. On the fifth call, the line went dead instantly. Then the automated voice. The person you are calling is unavailable. He had turned off his phone. Nia let out a scream that tore through her throat. She was alone. She couldn't call an ambulance because she didn't know the address in Korean well enough to explain the complex security gate codes, and Taehyung had never let her learn the codes to the main gate to prevent her from leaving. She realized then that this was it. With trembling fingers, she opened the voice recorder app on her phone. She couldn't save herself, but she could leave a message. She needed him to know. Taehyung, she whispered, tears mixing with the blood on her face. It's Nia. I know you are busy. I know you hate the smell of my soup. I know you hate that I am black. But I loved you. I loved you when you had nothing. Today, I think our son is coming. But I don't think I am staying. She coughed, her body convulsing with pain. I called you. I wanted you to hold my hand one last time. But you turned off your phone. It's okay. I forgive you. But please, when you find US, don't be angry at the baby. He is innocent. He is the best part of us. She took one last, shuddering breath. Goodbye, my love. I hope the deal was worth it. The recording stopped. Nia's hand went limp. The phone slid across the tiles. The penthouse was silent, except for the distant sound of city traffic, miles below. 6 hours later. 3 a.m. The front door beeped. Beep. 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 Click. Taehyung stumbled in, smelling of expensive cologne and champagne. He was drunk, high on success. He loosened his tie, throwing his jacket on the floor. Nia, he called out, his voice slurred. I'm home. You better not be sleeping. We need to talk about your little stunt at the office. Silence. Nia, he shouted, annoyed. Stop playing games. He walked to the kitchen. Empty. He walked to the living room. Empty. He felt that pinch in his chest again, the one from the club, but stronger now. He walked toward the bedroom. The bed was made. It hadn't been slept in. Where is this woman? He muttered, pulling out his phone. He turned it back on. Ping. 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 Dozens of notifications flooded in. 5 missed calls from Nia. And 1 audio file sent via text message. He rolled his eyes. Another dramatic speech, he thought. But the silence in the apartment was heavy. It felt cold. Too cold. He walked toward the bathroom. The door was cracked open slightly. Nia, are you in there? He pushed the door open. Taehyung's world stopped. The white marble floor was stained red. Nia lay curled up by the bathtub, her beautiful dress ruined. She was still. So incredibly still. Her phone lay just out of reach of her fingertips. The champagne buzz vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, sober horror. Taehyung fell to his knees. The expensive suit pants soaked up the blood on the floor. Nia, he whispered, his voice trembling. He reached out to touch her shoulder. It was cold. He shook her. Nia, wake up. Stop it. This isn't funny. Her head lolled back. Her eyes were closed, her face peaceful but frozen in a mask of pain. No, 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 no. Taehyung scrambled backward, slipping on the slick floor. He grabbed her phone. His hands were shaking so hard he almost dropped it. He saw the audio file. Sent, 9:45 p.m. He pressed play. Nia's voice, weak and broken, filled the bathroom. I loved you when you had nothing. I called you, but you turned off your phone. Taehyung let out a guttural roar, a sound like a wounded animal. He looked at his own phone, the device he had silenced so he could flirt with his mistress. He had killed her. He had ignored the call that could have saved her. But then he saw something. Nia's stomach. It moved. Just a tiny, faint ripple. The baby. Taehyung gasped, scrambling back to her side. He pressed his ear to her cold chest. Silence. No heartbeat from Nia. But when he placed his hand on her belly, he felt it again. A kick. A weak, desperate kick. His son was still alive inside her. Help! Taehyung screamed, his voice breaking. Someone help me. But there was no one. Just the echoes of his own voice in the empty penthouse, and the terrifying realization that he had to make a choice. He was alone with his dead wife and his dying unborn son, and every second he wasted screaming was a second closer to losing everything. Save him. You have to save him. Taehyung screamed into the phone. His voice cracked, sounding nothing like the powerful CEO who commanded boardrooms. My wife, she is not breathing, but the baby is moving. The 119 operator was calm, asking for the address, but Taehyung couldn't remember the gate code to his own building. He had to run to the wall monitor, his hands slippery with Nia's blood, to unlock the main doors remotely. For the next 8 minutes, Taehyung lived in a nightmare. He knelt beside Nia, holding her cold hand. He tried to do CPR like the operator told him, counting 1, 2, 3 for pressing down on her chest. But deep down, he knew she was gone. Her skin was turning a pale, grayish color that haunted him. I'm sorry, Nia. I'm so sorry, he sobbed, his tears falling onto her still face. I promised your father I would take care of you. I promised. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting louder and louder until they filled the apartment. Paramedics burst through the door, carrying heavy bags and a stretcher. They pushed Taehyung aside. No pulse, one paramedic shouted. Pupils fixed and dilated. She's been gone for hours. The baby, Taehyung yelled, grabbing the paramedic's arm. Check the baby. The paramedic placed a Doppler on Nia's stomach. Swish, 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 swish. It was faint. It was slow. But it was there. Fetal heartbeat is critically low, the paramedic shouted. We need to go. Now. Crash C-section immediately. They loaded Nia's body onto the stretcher. It looked wrong. She looked like she was just sleeping, but the tubes and the frantic urgency of the medics told a different story. Taehyung ran after them, still wearing his blood-soaked dress shirt, his expensive shoes clicking on the marble floor he had been so proud of. In the ambulance, the lights flashed red and white, blinding him. Taehyung stared at Nia's hand hanging off the side of the stretcher. Her wedding ring, a simple gold band because he hadn't wanted to buy her a diamond that people would notice, caught the light. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, the device that had cost her life. He looked at the call log. Nia, wife, 5 missed calls. If he had answered the first one, she would be in a hospital bed right now, holding his hand. If he had answered the second one, the doctors could have saved her. By the 5th call, she was already saying goodbye. Mr. Kim, the paramedic yelled, snapping his fingers in front of Taehyung's face. We are arriving at Seoul National Hospital. We are taking her straight to the OR to get the baby out. You cannot come in. That is my son, Taehyung argued. Then pray for him, the paramedic said grimly as the doors flew open. Taehyung was left standing in the ambulance bay, the cool night air hitting his sweat-drenched face. He watched the doors swing shut, swallowing his wife and unborn child. He collapsed onto a bench outside the emergency room. He looked down at his hands. They were stained red. He tried to wipe them on his pants, but the stain just spread. It was like a mark he could never wash off. An hour passed. It felt like 100 years. Taehyung sat with his head in his hands. The hospital was busy. People walked by, staring at the handsome man covered in blood. Some recognized him. He heard whispers. Isn't that CEO Kim Taehyung? Why is he covered in blood? Is that a scandal? His phone buzzed. It was Soare. Soare, where did you go? The investors are asking for you. You can't just leave the party. Taehyung stared at the message. A calm, cold rage filled him. He typed back 2 words, she's dead. He threw the phone onto the seat next to him. Suddenly, the clicking of high heels echoed down the hallway. Fast, angry clicks. Taehyung looked up. Soare was marching toward him, still wearing her sparkly cocktail dress, looking out of place in the grim hospital. Taehyung, she hissed, grabbing his arm. Are you insane? People are taking photos. Look at you. You look like a murderer. Taehyung looked at her slowly. He didn't see the beautiful woman he had flirted with hours ago. He saw a monster in a dress. My wife is dead, Soare. I know, I saw your text, Soare said, lowering her voice but not her intensity. And that is tragic, really. But you are the face of Hansung Electronics. If the stock market opens tomorrow and they see you like this, do you know how much money we will lose? She pulled a handkerchief from her purse and tried to wipe a smudge of blood from his cheek. Go wash up. I called a driver to bring a fresh suit. We need to spin this. We can say she had a sudden heart attack. A tragedy, yes, but unavoidable. Taehyung slapped her hand away. The sound was sharp and loud. Don't touch me, he growled. Soare looked shocked. Excuse me? She called me, Taehyung said, his voice shaking. She called me 5 times while you were whispering in my ear. I turned off the phone because of you. Because of me? Soare scoffed, crossing her arms. Don't put this on me, Taehyung. You are the one who hid her. You are the one who said she was a mistake. I just helped you enjoy your life. Don't play the grieving husband now. It doesn't suit you. Before Taehyung could scream at her, the double doors of the surgery wing opened. A doctor in blue scrubs walked out. He looked tired. He took off his mask. Taehyung jumped up, forgetting Soare. Doctor. My son. Is he? The doctor sighed. Mr. Kim. We performed a perimatum C-section. We were able to deliver the baby. Taehyung let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He's alive. He is alive, the doctor nodded. But he is very critical. He went without oxygen for a long time while your wife was deceased. His lungs are undeveloped, and he has suffered significant trauma. He is in the NICU, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. The next 24 hours are crucial. If he survives the night, it will be a miracle. Can I see him? Taehyung asked. Briefly. But Mr. Kim, there is something else. The doctor's face grew serious. We found something on your wife's body. Or rather, in her hand. What? She was clutching a piece of paper. She was holding it so tight we had to pry her fingers open. The doctor handed Taehyung a crumpled, blood-stained note. It seems she wrote it just before she passed. Taehyung took the paper with trembling fingers. It was written on the back of a grocery receipt. The handwriting was shaky, written in haste and pain. He unfolded it. Taehyung, if you are reading this, I am gone. Do not bury me in Korea. I want to go home to Lagos. And do not trust the people around you. Check the bank accounts. Check the charity fund Soare manages. I saw the emails. I was going to tell you tonight. That is why I called. P.S. Our son's name is Jadena. It means hold your father. Please let him hold you. Taehyung stopped breathing. He looked up at Soare. Soare was watching him closely, her eyes narrowing. What is that? A suicide note? She asked, reaching for the paper. Taehyung pulled it back, stuffing it into his pocket. His heart was pounding. Nia hadn't just called to say goodbye. She called to warn him. It's nothing, Taehyung said, his voice cold as ice. Just a list of baby names. He turned to the doctor. Take me to my son. Take me to Jadena. He walked away from Soare, leaving her standing in the hallway. For the first time, he realized that the enemy wasn't just his own neglect. The enemy was standing right behind him, wearing a sparkly dress. In the NICU, the lights were dim. Machines beeped in a steady rhythm. Taehyung washed his hands and put on a gown over his ruined clothes. He walked to the incubator in the corner. Inside the plastic box, barely bigger than his hand, lay his son. Jadena was tiny. His skin was a beautiful mix of Taehyung's and Nia's, but it was covered in wires and tubes. A ventilator was breathing for him. His chest rose and fell in jerky, mechanical movements. Taehyung reached through the small hole in the incubator. He touched Jadena's tiny foot with his pinky finger. I'm here, Taehyung whispered. Papa is here. I'm sorry I was late. I'm sorry I left Mommy. The baby twitched at the sound of his voice. The heart monitor sped up slightly. Beep, beep, beep. You have to fight, Jadena, Taehyung said, tears blurring his vision again. You are all I have left. Your mom, she knew. She knew everything. Suddenly, the door to the NICU opened. Taehyung wiped his face, expecting the doctor. But it wasn't the doctor. Two men in dark suits walked in. They flashed badges. Mr. Kim Taehyung? One of them asked. Yes. Taehyung stood up, protective of the incubator. Please keep your voices down. My son is fighting for his life. We are from the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency, the detective said, stepping closer. We are investigating the death of Mrs. Nia Kim. Investigating? Taehyung frowned. She died of preeclampsia. It was a medical emergency. The detective exchanged a look with his partner. We listened to the voicemail she left you, Mr. Kim. We recovered her phone from the scene. The timestamp shows she called you at 9 p.m. You arrived home at 3 a.m. The coroner believes she was alive for at least 2 hours after that call. 2 hours where she could have been saved. The detective pulled out a pair of handcuffs. Mr. Kim, we have reason to believe this wasn't just negligence. We found transfer records from your wife's account to an offshore account this morning. Money she didn't authorize. It looks like someone wanted her out of the way. Taehyung's blood ran cold. The note. Check the accounts. Check Soare. I didn't steal from my wife. Taehyung shouted. We aren't arresting you for theft, Mr. Kim, the detective said, grabbing Taehyung's wrist. We are arresting you for suspicion of manslaughter by gross negligence. You ignored the call. You let her die. No. My son needs me. Taehyung struggled as the cold metal clicked around his wrists. Jidena. As the police dragged Taehyung out of the NICU, he looked back at the incubator. The last thing he saw was the heart monitor on his son's machine start to beep rapidly. A red light flashed. An alarm began to wail. Doctors rushed past the police, swarming the incubator. He's crashing, a nurse screamed. Code blue. Code blue. Jidena. Taehyung screamed, fighting against the detectives. Let me go. My son is dying. But the detectives didn't stop. They dragged the billionaire CEO out of the room, away from the only family he had left, while Soare watched from the end of the hallway, a small, triumphant smile playing on her lips. The sound of the metal door slamming shut echoed like a gunshot. Taehyung was alone. He was sitting in a holding cell at the Seoul District Police Station. It was a small, gray box that smelled of bleach and despair. He was still wearing his blood-stained dress shirt, though the police had taken his tie and his shoelaces, so he couldn't hurt himself. But Taehyung didn't care about his clothes or his dignity. He cared about the silence. The last thing he had heard was the screaming of the heart monitor. Beep, beep, beep. He didn't know if the silence meant his son was sleeping, or if his son was gone forever. Officer! Taehyung yelled, banging his fist against the steel door. Tell me, is my son alive? Just tell me. No one answered. Hours passed. Taehyung paced the small cell. His mind replayed the last 5 years. He thought about the day he met Nia in the university library. She was studying nursing, and he was an engineering student with holes in his shoes. She had shared her lunch with him. She had believed in him when investors laughed at his ideas. And how had he repaid her? By hiding her. By being ashamed of her. By letting another woman whisper poison in his ear while Nia died on a cold bathroom floor. The door finally opened. A lawyer walked in. It wasn't the company lawyer. It was a man Taehyung had hired years ago for private matters, Mr. Choi, a man known as the Shark. Mr. Kim, Mr. Choi said, placing a briefcase on the metal table. Sit down. We have a lot of work to do. My son, Taehyung gasped. Is he? He is alive, Mr. Choi said. Taehyung collapsed into the chair, putting his head on the table, sobbing with relief. Thank God. Thank God. But, Mr. Choi continued, his voice sharp, he is in critical condition. The doctors managed to restart his heart, but his oxygen levels are unstable. And you, Mr. Kim, are in a very dangerous position. The police are charging you with gross negligence resulting in death. But the bigger problem is the money. Taehyung looked up, wiping his eyes. What money? Mr. Choi pulled out a file. The police found transfers of $10 million from your personal account to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The transfers were authorized using your biometric thumbprint. They believe you were planning to run away with the money and leave your wife. I never authorized that. Taehyung shouted. My thumbprint? Only I have access to. He stopped. His blood ran cold. There was one other person. 2 months ago, he had been drunk after a gala. Soare had taken him home. She had helped him unlock his phone to check an email. She had held his hand, pressed his thumb to the screen. Soare, Taehyung whispered. The realization hit him like a physical punch. She didn't just ignore Nia. She planned this. She needed Nia gone so she could take the money and frame me. Mr. Choi nodded grimly. And she is moving fast. While you have been in this cell, the board of directors held an emergency meeting. Because of the murder scandal, they have suspended you as CEO. Guess who they appointed as interim CEO? Taehyung clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. Soare. She is sitting in your chair right now, Mr. Kim. She told the press that she is heartbroken by your betrayal and that she will do everything to save the company's reputation. Taehyung stood up. The sadness in his eyes was replaced by a fire that hadn't been there in years. The cold, ruthless intelligence that had built an empire was waking up. But this time, he wasn't going to use it to make money. He was going to use it for war. Get me out of here, Choi, Taehyung commanded. I don't care what it costs. Bail me out. The bail is set at 5 billion won. It is unprecedented. Pay it. 2 hours later, Taehyung walked out of the police station. The paparazzi were waiting. Flashes blinded him. Reporters shouted questions. Did you kill her? Did you steal the money? Is the baby really yours? Taehyung ignored them. He got into Mr. Choi's black sedan. To the hospital. First, I see my son. Then I go to the office. When he arrived at the hospital, he ran to the NICU. He needed to see Jadena. He needed to apologize to the tiny boy fighting for his breath. But as he approached the glass doors, two large men in suits stepped in front of him. Private security. Step aside, Taehyung growled. I am sorry, Mr. Kim, one of the guards said. We have strict orders. You are not allowed in. I am the father, Taehyung shouted, causing nurses to look over. The order comes from the legal guardian, the guard said. I am the legal guardian. Not anymore. A voice came from behind the guards. Soare walked out of the NICU waiting room. She wasn't wearing a party dress anymore. She was wearing a black business suit, looking solemn and professional. She looked like a CEO. Soare, Taehyung said, his voice low and dangerous. Get your dogs out of my way. You are a murder suspect, Taehyung, Soare said, her voice loud enough for the staff to hear. Child Protective Services has granted temporary custody to the state, and as the interim head of your estate, I am overseeing the medical care. We can't have a man who killed his wife near the child. Taehyung stepped forward, ready to strangle her. The guards grabbed him. You stole the money, Taehyung hissed, struggling against the guards. You framed me. I know you did it. Soare leaned in close, so only he could hear. Her perfume, the same jasmine scent from the club, made him sick. You can't prove it, she whispered, a cruel smile playing on her lips. You gave me your thumbprint. You gave me your passwords. You were so busy being a big man that you handed me the keys to your kingdom. Nia was just collateral damage. She was weak. And now you are weak too. She pulled back and looked at him with fake pity. Go home, Taehyung. Oh wait, the police seized the penthouse as a crime scene. You have nowhere to go. Taehyung stopped struggling. He looked at Soare, really looked at her. He realized shouting wouldn't work. She had won the battle, but she hadn't won the war. You missed one thing, Taehyung said calmly. And what is that? Soare laughed. Nia's note, Taehyung lied. He remembered the crumbled paper in his pocket. Check the charity fund. She kept a diary, Soare. She tracked everything. And I have it. For a split second, fear flashed in Soare's eyes. It was gone instantly, but he saw it. Security, remove him, Soare ordered, turning around. Taehyung was escorted out of the hospital. He stood on the curb, homeless, jobless, and separated from his dying son. He had nothing. Mr. Choi, Taehyung said to his lawyer, who was waiting by the car. Take me to the old office. The garage where I started. They drove to a dusty, small garage in the poor district of Seoul. This was where Hansung Electronics began. Taehyung unlocked the rusty door. Inside, there were old computers and boxes of files. He sat on a broken chair. He pulled out the bloody note Nia had left. Check the charity fund. He opened his old laptop. It was slow, but it worked. He bypassed the company firewalls. He wrote the code, after all. He hacked into the Hansung Hope Foundation, the charity Soare managed. He scrolled through the ledgers. His eyes widened. It wasn't just $10 million. Over the last 3 years, Soare had been funneling money out of the company into dummy corporations. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the names of the people she was paying. Dr. Kong, chief of obstetric medicine. Judge Park, the judge who signed the warrant for Taehyung's arrest. Reporter Lee, the journalist writing the hit pieces against him. She bought them all, Taehyung whispered. She has been planning this takeover for years. He hit print. He had the evidence. But who could he trust? The police were paid off. The judges were paid off. The media was against him. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was an international number. Country code plus 234. Nigeria. Taehyung stared at the screen. He remembered Nia saying her father was a businessman in Lagos, but Taehyung had never asked details. He had assumed it was a small shop or a stall. He had been too arrogant to care. He answered. Hello. Kim Taehyung. A voice boomed on the other end. It was deep, heavy, and vibrated with power. It wasn't an angry voice. It was a voice that commanded armies. Who is this? Taehyung asked. I am Chief Obino Keke, the voice said. Father of Adana. The woman you call Nia. Taehyung's breath caught. Sir. I am so sorry. I failed her. Silence, the chief commanded. I do not want your apologies. Apologies do not bring back the dead. I just landed at Incheon Airport. I have brought my own team, my own lawyers, and my own security. Taehyung was confused. You are in Korea? I watched the news, Chief Okeke said. I saw my daughter treated like a criminal. I saw you arrested. And I saw that woman take your company. Sir, she has everyone in her pocket, Taehyung said desperately. The police, the judges. She has Korean money, the chief said, and Taehyung could hear the sound of a car door closing in the background. But she does not know who I am. Adana ran away to marry for love. She didn't tell you, did she? Tell me what? My family owns the largest lithium mines in Africa, the chief said. Hansung Electronics needs my lithium for your batteries. Without my supply, your company is worth nothing. Taehyung's jaw dropped. The deal he had been trying to close for 5 years. The supplier who kept refusing him was his own father-in-law? I am coming to the hospital, Chief Okeke said. Meet me there. We're going to take back my grandson. And then, we're going to bury that woman. The line went dead. Taehyung stood up. He looked at the printer spitting out the evidence of Soare's crimes. He looked at the phone. He wasn't alone anymore. He walked out of the garage. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over Seoul. For the first time in days, he didn't feel like a victim. He felt like a hunter. Mr. Choi, Taehyung said, getting back into the car. Drive fast. The cavalry is coming. The black sedan screeched to a halt in front of Seoul National Hospital. Taehyung jumped out before the car even fully stopped. His heart was hammering against his ribs, not with fear this time, but with a burning purpose. He had the evidence in his pocket and a ghost army at his back. He stormed through the sliding doors, Mr. Choi right behind him. The hospital lobby was chaos. Reporters were swarming, cameras flashing. In the center of the circus stood Soare. She was giving an impromptu press conference, looking solemn and grieving, in a black designer dress. As the interim CEO, Soare was saying into the microphones, wiping a fake tear, "It is my duty to protect the legacy of Hansung Electronics during this tragic investigation. We are doing everything to ensure the safety of the child, despite his father's criminal actions." Liar! Taehyung shouted. The cameras swung around. Flashbulbs erupted like lightning. Taehyung marched through the crowd, his blood-stained shirt making him look like a madman, but his eyes were clear. Soare's smile faltered for a second, then hardened. Security. Why is this man here? 2 police officers, the same corrupt ones from the precinct, stepped forward to block Taehyung. Mr. Kim, the lead officer sneered. You are out on bail. Do not cause a scene, or we will revoke it. I am not here to cause a scene, Taehyung said, his voice cutting through the noise. I am here to introduce you to the real owner of Hansung Electronics. Soare laughed, a high, brittle sound. You are delirious, Taehyung. The board removed you. I own the majority voting rights now. You own nothing. A deep, rumbling voice echoed from the entrance. The air in the lobby seemed to change. The temperature dropped. The reporters turned around and gasped. Walking through the doors was a man who looked like a mountain. Chief Obina Okeke wore a flowing, charcoal-gray agbada that looked more expensive than every suit in the room combined. He walked with a cane topped with a golden lion's head. Behind him were 6 men, large, silent, and terrifyingly professional. They weren't wearing security uniforms. They were wearing tactical suits. Who is that? A reporter whispered. That, Taehyung said, stepping aside to let the chief pass, is my father-in-law, and the man who supplies the lithium for every battery this company makes. Soare looked at the African man. She sneered, her racism bubbling to the surface. This is a hospital, not a marketplace. I don't care who you are. Get out. Chief Okeke didn't shout. He didn't even stop walking. He stopped 3 feet from Soare and looked down at her. You are the woman who left my daughter to die on a bathroom floor. I don't know what you're talking about, Soare stammered, stepping back. She looked at the police. Officer, arrest these men. The police officer reached for his baton. Chief Okeke snapped his fingers. One of his aides stepped forward and handed a phone to the police officer. It is the commissioner of police, the aide said calmly. He would like to speak with you about your bank account. The officer's face went pale. He took the phone, listened for 2 seconds, and then dropped his baton. He stepped back, head bowed. I am sorry, sir. Soare looked around, panic setting in. What is going on? The game is over, Soare, Taehyung said, holding up the stack of papers he had printed. I have the logs, the bribes to Dr. Kong, the payments to the judge, and the offshore transfers. But that's not the worst part. He threw the papers at her feet. You tried to steal the company, Taehyung said. But you forgot to check who supplies our raw materials. Chief Okeke just canceled the lithium contract. As of 5 minutes ago, Hansung Electronics has no batteries, no product, and no value. The stock just dropped 60%. Soare pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking so hard she dropped it. She scrambled to pick it up. The screen showed red arrows. The company was crashing. Her fortune, tied up in stock options, was evaporating in seconds. "No," she screamed. "No. I worked for this. I deserve this." "You deserve a cell," Chief Okeke said. He looked at the officers. "If you do not arrest this woman for embezzlement and conspiracy to commit murder, I will buy this police station and turn it into a parking lot." The officers didn't hesitate this time. They grabbed Soare. "Taehyung," she screamed as they handcuffed her. "Help me. We were partners. I did this for us." Taehyung looked at her with zero emotion. "You did it for yourself. And you killed the only person who actually loved me." As they dragged Soare away, screaming and kicking, the lobby fell silent. Taehyung turned to the chief. He fell to his knees. "Chief Okeke," Taehyung said, bowing his head to the floor. "I am not worthy to stand before you. I killed your daughter with my neglect. I deserve whatever punishment you give me." The chief looked down at the broken man. He tapped his cane on the floor. "Stand up," the chief commanded. Taehyung stood, tears streaming down his face. "You are a fool," the chief said, his voice thick with grief. "You were blind. You chased gold when you had a diamond at home. But," the chief sighed, looking toward the elevators. "Adana loved you. She was stubborn. If I destroy you, she will haunt me." The chief pointed his cane at the elevator. "My grandson is upstairs. He needs a father, not a prisoner." They went up to the NICU together. The guards who had blocked Taehyung earlier were gone. The doctors were waiting, looking terrified of the chief. They approached the incubator. Jadena was still there, small and fragile. But the monitors were steady. Beep, beep, beep. "He is a fighter," the chief whispered, placing his large hand on the glass. "He has the Okeke spirit. He has Nia's eyes," Taehyung said softly. "He needs a home," the chief said. "Korea has rejected him. This place, it is cold. It is full of people like that woman." "I know," Taehyung said. He looked at his son, then at the chief. "I am stepping down as CEO. I am selling my shares. I don't want the empire anymore." "Good," the chief nodded. "Because you are coming to Lagos." Taehyung looked surprised. "Me? Jadena cannot be raised by nannies," the chief said sternly. "And I am too old to chase a toddler. You will come. You will work in my mines. You will learn what hard work actually is. You will learn to cook a egusi soup until it tastes like Adana's. And you will tell this boy every single day who his mother was." Taehyung looked at his hands, the hands that had signed deals and ignored calls. Then he looked at his son. "Yes, sir," Taehyung said. "I will." 6 years later. The sun was setting over the chaotic, vibrant city of Lagos, Nigeria. The heat was heavy, but the air smelled of spices, exhaust, and life. In a large garden filled with palm trees, a party was in full swing. Afro beats blasted from the speakers. "Papa! Papa! Watch this!" A 6-year-old boy with curly hair and a mischievous grin ran across the grass. He was kicking a soccer ball with impressive skill. "I see you, Jadena. Keep your eye on the ball," Taehyung shouted. Taehyung looked different. His skin was tanned. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a simple linen shirt and trousers. He looked younger, despite the gray hairs at his temples. He looked happy. He sat at a large table filled with food, jollof rice, plantains, pepper soup. Chief Okeke sat at the head of the table, laughing as he bounced a toddler, Jadena's cousin, on his knee. Taehyung walked over to a small shrine in the corner of the garden. It was decorated with fresh flowers. In the center was a framed photo of Nia. She was smiling, that bright, beautiful smile that he had fallen in love with in the university library. He lit a candle. "He scored a goal today, Nia," Taehyung whispered to the photo. "He speaks Igbo better than me. The chief says he is going to run the company one day." He touched the frame gently. "I miss you. Every day. But I held him. Just like you asked. I held our father. And he held me back. Papa, come eat," Jadena yelled, running over and grabbing Taehyung's hand. "Grandpa says if you don't eat the pepper soup, you are weak." Taehyung laughed. I'm coming." He let his son pull him back toward the noise, the music, and the family. He had lost his empire of glass and steel in Seoul, but here, under the African sun, Taehyung realized he had finally found something much more valuable. He had found a home. The end. Thank you so much for reading this emotional journey. I hope this story touched your heart and reminded you to cherish the people you love before it's too late. Happy New Year! May 2026 be a year of love, success, and no missed calls. Please, if you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button right now. It helps us grow and create more amazing stories for you. Don't forget to like and share this with a friend who needs a good cry. See you in the next story.